So what was the inspiration for creating Leverage?
The inspiration, well, the origin of Leverage was, so there was a few different rivers that all kind of came together. I believe Michael Wright, who's the head of TNT, was talking to Dean Devlin, who was one of the executive producers of the show. And Dean had done a series of movies for TNT, the Librarian movies. And Michael Wright said to Dean, "When am I going to get a series from you?" And Dean said, "I always wanted to do a kind of fun heist show." And Michael Wright said, "Sold," which never happens in Hollywood. Dean then went to John Rogers, who's a writer and is the co-creator of the show, and said, "Hey, do you want to come up with a heist show for TNT?" And John said, "Sure." And John and I had been friends for many years, but we hadn't worked together since our first show together. And so John said to me, "Do you want to work on this show that TNT is interested in, a heist show?" And I said, "Sure." And the rest is kind of history. We sat down and worked on characters and premise, and worked on it with Dean, and Dean brought it to life in the pilot, and now here we are at the end of season 3.
So one of the things we love about Leverage is there's so many geeky references you guys make, between comic books and, Doctor Who, and of course, the Hardison characters is a super geek. Who's the geekiest person in the cast?
Wow, the geekiest person in the cast. I think maybe Aldous is probably the geekiest person. He's a big comic book fan, and it comes from here. It's not something that an affectation he puts on for the character. He's the real deal. So I'd have to say it's Aldous.
Do you identify personally with any of the characters?
I think I think I identify with all of them in different ways. I mean, they're all so interesting. They're endlessly surprising to write for. I don't think there's any one character that I would say that's me. I love them all.
So, what can we expect for season 3?
Well, we're kind of getting towards the middle of season 3, and as we head towards the end, those of you who've been watching the show know that we did a little bit of an arc this year with a bad guy, Damien Moreau, who's kind of an international financier for criminals and drug runners and terrorists, and the team has been slowly kind of hunting him down at the behest of the mysterious Italian played by Elisabetta Canalis. So as we get towards the end of the show, those things are going to come to a head, and the 2-part finale is just every bit the action movie that people tune into every week. It's a big canvas, and it's big stunts and action, and I think it's going to knock everyone's socks off.
You guys have had some fantastic guest stars on the show. Is there anyone that you'd really like to get on the show, or that you're trying to get on the show right now?
Wow, that's a good question. We've had some really amazing luck with getting people on the show. I don't know. I always wanted to meet Elvis Costello. I think he would be a great bad guy, and I would get to hang out with him in Portland and go out to dinner. And so I'm just going to put that out there. Elvis, if you're watching this, I'll write an evil part for you. Come to Portland. We'll hang out. So that's me being geeky right there.
So you wrote a lot of episodes of King of Queens. How's it different writing for Leverage than a sitcom?
Well, King of Queens, the way we would come up with stories is we would come in on Monday morning, and we were all married, and we would go around the room and say, who had a funny fight with their husband or wife this weekend? And those would become episodes. So it was all sort of like stuff that happened to you. That was really like what King of Queens was. It was all internal. Leverage is much more sort of the world. It's, we read articles, the writers kind of find something online that we'll send to each other to see if it sparks anything, a potential bad guy, a potential client, an interesting setting that we haven't done before. So it's a little more exterior, is where the inspiration comes from.
For anyone who hasn't ever seen an episode of Leverage, what do you think is the most important thing for them to know?
Wow, most important thing for them to know is the show is just tons of fun. When we set out to do the show, John and I, there were a lot of dramas on television that were really dark, you know. A lot of shows about serial killers. There are more shows about serial killers right now than serial killers have actually existed in history. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to go after, you know, corporate fat cats and Wall Street bigwigs who, you know, really put screws to people. Since the serial killers are covered pretty well. So if you're looking for a show that's fun and that is escapist, this is the show for you.
Are we going to continue to learn about the characters' histories as the show goes on?
No, you've learned everything that you're ever going to know. Yes, absolutely. We are, you know, the thing is you don't want to kind of dump all the backstory about everybody at once. You want to kind of parse it out over time. And with a show like this, we have the luxury to do that. We know that, you know, we have 15, 16 episodes a season, and we can kind of take a look at, well, here's an opportunity. Here's a story where we could have an opportunity to learn something about Nate or Sophie or Hardison, you know, sort of depending upon what situation they're in. I mean, you know, the Scheherazade job this year was a great example because here we learned that when he was younger, Hardison played violin, which is not something that anybody knew before, and so that sort of opens up a little bit about his character. So it's.
So we've now seen a whole bunch of the bridge crew from the Enterprise of Star Trek Next Generation come through the show. Are we going to be seeing the rest of the bridge crew come through at any point?
Wow, how great would it be to have Patrick Stewart on the show? One of our most beloved directors is Jonathan Frakes, who played Commander Riker on Next Gen, and he's kind of brought on a lot of the people from the show. We're all Star Trek, you know, geeks in the room, so it's really kind of worked out. Season 1, Brent Spiner was fantastic on the show as a bad guy. So I definitely think we'll be seeing more folks from Star Trek popping up on the show.
What is your favorite thing about each character?
Wow, about each character. Each character, I don't, it's hard. It's like, again, it's like saying who's my favorite character. Like, there's just so many things I love about them. I love Elliot's grumpiness and just the way that he kind of throws off jokes, just in the most tense situations. I love Parker's just kind of childlike quality with a sort of mischievous glint in her eye. Just the way she just says things that you just, you can't believe that she just said that. I think, I love, Nate's just ability to kind of ground everybody and just kind of anchor the show. And Sophie, is just. I love her aspiring to act and failing. I mean, I think that's such a wonderful quality about her, that she's only a great actress when she's in the con. So there's something about everybody that I really like.
There's a whole lot of geeky references throughout all of the episodes, especially in Hardison's dialogue. When writing the shows, do those references just kind of come to you, or does everyone kind of throw them in, or are they ad-libbed by the actors?
No, mostly they're in the script. We kind of had a running thing early on in season 1 whenever the team was playing an alias, that the aliases they used was supposed to be a wink to whatever movie we were kind of spoofing. So the first time we did it was, I believe, in The Wedding Job. Elliot, Hardison and Parker as the FBI agents were Thomas and Hagen, which is the name of Robert Duvall's character from The Godfather. So that was just like a little wink to people, okay, this is kind of like we're doing a mafia story. And that's kind of like we've sort of picked that up, and every I think in the also in season 1 in which episode, the bank shot job. They were officers Elmore and Leonard. So it was, okay, we're doing an Elmore Leonard story. So I think these writers have kind of picked up on that and really try and do that. And the Doctor Who references are really born out of the fact that there are just tons of Doctor Who fans on the writing staff.
We would also be Doctor Who fans.
Yes, there you go. Yes.
One of the things we love about Leverage is the fact that you guys balance comedy really well with drama. Is it difficult sometimes to balance the two out?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is you don't want the show to get so kind of frothy that you don't buy the jeopardy that the team is in. I mean, it's really... I hate shows where bullets are whizzing over their heads and they're cracking jokes and it doesn't seem like anybody's in any danger. So it's very much... We try not to make the shows... to get too... Dean talks about the show being 6 inches off the ground but not 3 feet off the ground. So when we do comedy on the show, we always try to make sure that it's balanced in the episode with an emotional story, something one of the characters is going through that kind of like gives you the license to have fun with some of the other storylines.
Okay, one more silly question. Sure. When Leverage eventually does end, who's going to get the painting of Harlan Leverage III?
That's a good question. I think we'll have to stay tuned. I'm sure that'll spark some hot debate in the writers' room.